This is responding to Gretchen Esquivel and um, Optima. I don't believe I talk about insertions in Luke, but I do in Matthew. Both Luke and Matthew are called synoptic gospels because they use Mark as a template, and then they use Q, sometimes called document, um, or even sometimes Q document. Q just means quella, source, just means the source. Sometimes people say Q source, which is redundancy. But they're taking Matthew and using it as, or taking Mark and using it as a template, and taking this other stuff that they have known. Q just could be the the parables that people remembered him saying. You know, um, the virgin birth is not part of Q though, even though because Q is what's common to Luke and Matthew, but not Mark. Um, but it wouldn't be things like the virgin birth. It's sayings, parables, and sometimes miracles. But the virgin birth isn't part of Q. I believe it's just sayings and parables. I don't even think it's miracles actually, if I remember correctly. But with Matthew, if you look at Matthew 5 through 7, the Sermon on the Mount, um, it says, when Jesus saw large crowds, he went up on the mountain. And then Matthew 5 through 7 is just completely the Sermon on the Mount, right? And remember, these chapter and verse divisions were in the late Middle Ages. So you go to 8:1. When Jesus came down from the mountain, large crowds followed him. So if you just skip from Matthew 4:25 to 8:2, it flows much easier than him going up on a mountain and then giving these um, these just parables, one right after the other, one right after, and saying one right after the other. You'd think somebody's say, "Wait, stop! What do you mean by that?" You know? Um, but they're just boom, all together, and it has him going up on a mountain and then coming down. Um, that's it's mirroring Moses, just like in Matthew, you have, um, and he shall be called Emmanuel. Well, if you actually read Isaiah 7, a virgin shall conceive and bear a son. That's actually, um, you just keep reading through chapter 7. It's talking about somebody at the time of, I believe it is Ahaz. Ahaz asking for the sign, or Isaiah provoking Ahaz to ask for the sign. And even, I've brought my son out of Egypt. I believe that's Hosea calling back to, um, remembering back to Moses and the children of Israel coming out of Egypt. Israel as the whole 12 tribes being the child of God. Now, these are these Matthew put in there because he was comparing them, right? And there are other reasons people say, virgins will conceive and bear a son, that uh, they people will give another explanation for that, I'm sure. And that obviously most things in the Bible have double meanings, eh, you know, or sometimes triple, and are symbolic in multiple ways. This was known throughout Judaism and Christianity, at least early Christianity. But Matthew's using these things to, as, to spike, to punctuate these things in the memory of the Jewish reader, because Matthew's the most Jewish gospel. But you could see that in Matthew. That doesn't mean that Jesus didn't say these things. It just meant that that's how he was using the extra material and inserting it into Mark. As for the thing about the vineyard, the parable, I wasn't speaking about the parable per se or its meaning. I was talking when he matter of factly mentions how to build how a vineyard is set up anew, and he describes it as somebody of his day accurately describes it before 69 AD, or sorry, AD 69. Actually, no, not even before that, before AD 67, because of the nobody would be constructing vineyards when you had the city of Jerusalem under siege. Um, but yeah, so it's things like that. It's the offhand comments, off the cuff remarks that are most important to historians, um, and especially the secular or agnostic historians or agnostic New Testament scholars. All right, peace to you.